banned from the competition today. Curly, do you want to let us know what they are?
Yeah, so very short and simple. All EX mons have been banned in this tourney, so none of these teams will be rocking those super powerful EX mons. They are unplayable for this tourney, and that is it. Short and sweet.
That's really easy to remember. I'm glad they just kept it just the EX ones. Now, talking about Pokemons, are there any Pokemons that you two would like to see today in competition? Maybe like a favorite Pokemon you've been liking this patch, or a Pokemon that is just your comfort pick in general. Lobo, do you want to start us off first?
Look, my day one main was always Alola Ninetales, and we still know how strong that is with that ICC. But, we have been seeing a lot of Pokemon being played that we don't usually get to see played. It's such a good balance patch. But for me, I want to see a strong Alola Ninetales. That's my go-to for this one.
Yeah, we haven't actually seen Ninetales too much, right, in the competition. So maybe they'll take a bit of your advice today, Lobo, and insert it into their team draft. We'll see what happens. Curly, what about you? I know you're a defender main. Is there some Pokemon that you like to see?
There is a one Pokemon that I would really love to see, mainly because we don't see it really at all in this tourney, or really just in competitive season in general lately. But that would be the Divine Swine, Mamoswine. It's my favorite defender, and I think it's so fun to play and so fun to watch. But realistically, I don't expect it, but it would honestly make my night. But we did recently get a new small patch. So Snorlax was one of the defenders that did get a tiny bit of a buff with the wall shield. So I'm interested to see if that Pokemon is going to get picked up more often.
I was just gonna say as well. I had a feeling that you might pick Mamoswine because look at how I guess the synergy that we've got right now. This is kind of like freeze lane, right? I'm just stuck in the middle here. We've got Mamoswine, which is the ice crowd control. We've got A9 on the other side. It's great. And I think for me, something I wanted to see is perhaps a Trick Hooper coming out today. Now we know Hooper's trick move got a little bit of a change in the recent patch. The shield that you get will, increase, I think, by 200. We always see the hyperspace hole Hooper. Maybe we get to see something with, paired up with a Pokemon that is, really easily for your attack speed, maybe like a Dragapult or something like that, or maybe a Garchomp. I think I want to see a Trick Hooper enabling a all-rounder throughout the map today. So that's something that I'm hoping. Fingers crossed, you never know what's going to happen. Now, let's talk about what Pokemon that people can actually ban out of the tournament, right? Because we know each team, they get two choices, right? They've kind of flipped the switch now. It used to be only two at the start of the year, but with 4 Pokemons off the map, especially from like EUIC and stuff like that, we saw Leafeon, a great ban that just, never got to really play the game. Lobo, do you think there will be a Pokemon such as that, apart from Leafeon, that, will be kind of like shifted away from the playing field today?
Look, we've seen the Leafeon Buzzwole combination way too often get banned, not only in our own region, but even in EUIC. But that Glaceon is still a problem. The big blue button, as I like to call it, that Icicle Spear and Icy Wind build are both very, very good on Glaceon at the moment. So I think not a lot of people are going to get to play Glaceon, but also any of the EVs, to be honest. They're just too strong. They're very strong, Fu. Very
they
strong.
just come online too early, Lobo. Like you hit level 4 and then your lane's basically won if you have any of the evolutions. What about you, Kelly? Is there a Pokemon, I think from your region as well, is there a specific like meta Pokemon that like teams just don't want to play into at all?
We do see a lot of Inteleon getting picked up. I think a Snipe Shot just deals such incredible damage. It has phenomenal range, and so we often do see that mon being picked up very frequently. So I'm interested to see if that is also the case over here in OC. But Buzzwole as well. I mean, I know it just got nerfed, but I'm not sure if it got nerfed enough to the point where these teams will not pick it up or not prioritize banning it. So I'm very curious to see whether or not those nerfs are going to have an effect on the competitive play. But also, I would love to see more Umbreon being picked because its Wish
Mm.
just got buffed. So massive heals, especially when you look at Eldegoss getting a ton of its damage being nerfed. And so now Umbreon is kind of in the spotlight a little bit to be more of a priority as a support. So yeah,
Mm.
I would love to see some of that getting picked up as well tonight.
That's actually a great point, Kelly, because maybe we can actually see 3 defenders on a team. Umbreon as the support, that wish goes kind of crazy right now. Even in just rank play, I think every 4 seconds, you're getting, I think, at least 2,000 HP healed, which is really, really crazy for a defender Pokemon. And then you can have, I guess, Top Path Tree or Blastoise, and then in the bottom you can actually Crustle. So maybe we'll get a protect the president kind of situation today in some draft. So only time will tell. I'm keen to see, but that would be pretty cool, right? Do you think any teams will bring that out? Maybe even 5 defenders. You've got 60% already. You might as well just commit to the bit. I think what I want to see today, because April Cup is really the team's last chance to lock in their roster and test out the comps before regionals. Perhaps we'll be able to see some teams, maybe if they're confident, bring out comps that we don't really normally get to see in the stressful comp situations, and maybe they can show us something different. So praying. I know it might be a tough ask, but 3 defenders could be the way to go. Lobo, is there anything else you think that we might be able to see today? Something that you maybe been thinking about in terms of like competition, like duo drafts, like for example, like a lane. Just like for example, Eldegoss Buzzwole was so good, right, in the last few, I guess, cups, but then Eldegoss is a bit nerfed, Buzzwole's a bit nerfed. What do you think?
What I have seen previously is the Dragonite Mew combination. The double secure. You mentioned this on our last month's broadcast, how effective having secures are, especially it's the Hyper Beam build on the Dragonite, pulling out so much damage, as well as the Mew Solar Beam plus the strong Electro Ball secure has proven to be very, very strong alongside a very competent team comp. That's been really good to see. It's interesting to see teams prioritizing that secure, but also using mons that can allow them to team fight as well. So, that seems to have been proven very, very effective in the past cups, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see that again. But look, let's not count out that Aegislash also got a buff to that Sacred Sword, and I love me some Aegislash. So I would love to see the Aegislash come back up to the forefront. We know how strong it was once upon a time, but again, it just shows how great the balance has been with this game, and especially the 4 bans that makes these teams think a lot on their feet.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I know you play a lot of the Aegislash in ranked because I faced it quite before, and I think you and I are both very excited that Pokemon is getting a little bit of a change, but it makes it a little bit stronger. I think Feather from Ground Zero played it either in the March Cup, I think, and like you said, there was just a lot of secure available for them. So I think only time will tell, but yeah, I don't want to hold up any more action. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first matchup of today, we've got Curly and Lobo casting it for you. Let's get it underway. See you guys soon.
Curly, I'm so excited. This is my first chance to get to cast a game with you. This is going to be your first opportunity casting an OCE game. What are your initial thoughts going on in?
I'm just very excited to see how different the meta is over in this region compared to what I often see over in the NA region. So I think I feel like a lot of the other regions have been doing phenomenal. Not too many like roster shakeups over in other regions, it seems. I know we've had a ton of roster mania happening over here in the NA region. So yeah, I'm just very interested to see what's going to be prioritized going into these lanes and also the differences with bans and whatnot. So honestly, like the whole thing is a little bit unfamiliar for me with the OC region. A lot to keep up with, but I've heard so many great things, and I'm just excited to see what this region has to bring to the table.
Absolutely. And now as we get into the game, we have our first game of the day, which is Ground Zero Gaming taking on Legends Reappear. We have the Sylveon coming up with the red buff. Does manage to get the takedown on the Eevee. Now they're going to have to go back as Marchop decides to come back out through. The Sylveon could get taken down here. The Eldegoss just A-pressing, and the Marchop does get the takedown as Magikarp still trying to get that evolution as Dragonair is now pushing in to the top side. Magikarp is just going to have to backtrack here as Umbreon still needs to get online. Very crazy start to this game, don't you think, Curly?
Oh, absolutely. I honestly thought Legends Reappear was going to get that knockout on the Magikarp, but they stayed strong there on that path. So we have a 3v3 situation up here in the top path. It's a battle for experience, and it looks like that experience was pretty evenly split amongst both of these top path of Pokemon here. But you know, we're seeing a lot of play on the side of Ground Zero Gaming. Like Legends Reappear is definitely trying to apply a lot of pressure already in this early game.
Absolutely. We see Gyarados, Sylveon, Snorlax, Umbreon, and Decidueye being picked up for Ground Zero Gaming. Machoke, Dragonite, Blastoise, Eldegoss, and Inteleon being picked up for the side of Legends Reappear as both teams. And we have a 13-59 score. Early game, Machoke getting that in, but Gyarados tried to bounce in. The Heavy Slam not working out brilliantly with a stack as we've got a top lane push of 4, and those dunks are just coming on in. Dragonair trying to get as what he can do, but the Sylveon Hyper Mystical Fire and the bounce Dragon combination from Gyarados just too strong. Ground Zero Gaming pushing very, very strong in these early stages as Inteleon is trying to get that central farm. Aggressive start from both teams, Curly. How do you see this going on with that Gyarados being online super quickly?
That is absolutely huge for there to already be a Gyarados. So things are looking very good here for Ground Zero Gaming. Levels are looking very healthy on their side. Legends Reappear is still pretty up to par with Ground Zero Gaming as far as the levels go, but we did have some buffs on the side of Gyarados going into this new patch, and so I think we should definitely expect to see a rise in Gyarados Gaming, and we're kind of already seeing that being played out very beautifully here. Level 9 Gyarados already has its Unite move and ready to use it at these first set of objectives.
Absolutely, the basement Regice has spawned. Dragonite does take it out with Legends Reappear, boxing out the Sylveon and the Decidueye. Umbreon coming in to try and give it some backup. The Blastoise Surf doing an incredible job keeping Snorlax out as well. But now Snorlax is just caught. We see that block. It did get a buff recently, pushing the Dragonite. And there it goes, the Heavy Slam finishing it off. Ground Zero Gaming did lose that objective to the bot lane, Legends Reappear. But look at this absolute comeback. Decidueye getting a 2 KO streak. Gyarados taking down the Machoke, but all started off from that huge block coming out from the Snorlax as Gyarados now scoring 40 inside the top lane as they look to push and make their way up towards the Regieleki. Interesting push from there, Curly. Legends Reappear taking the objective but falling behind when they tried to push onto the base.
Yeah, it was such a great barrier push with that Snorlax, and I gotta say, I'm loving the team comp coming from Ground Zero Gaming. These are two of my predictions that I had. I wanted to see some more Umbreon and Snorlax gameplay after seeing those buffs in the patch recently, and so very excited to see what's going on here. I absolutely love the double defender pick, but obviously that Umbreon is more like a support. But here we go, we got the knock coming out of the Decidueye here. And ooh, it is a 1 HP and a dream, but with the help from Gyarados, they do end up getting that knockout on the Blastoise.
Such big damage, really able to combine the Gyarados bounce with the Decidueye Unite as Legends Reappear, looking for this push on the bot side. We do notice that the Regieleki hasn't even been noticed. We got 25 seconds coming up until this basement Regi does spawn again. Not a single Regieleki has been taken, but we've got Blastoise and Dragonite circling in the top side. We've got Sylveon and Gyarados making its way up. The Gyarados just on the entail of the Inteleon, but here we go. The bounce goes in, the Snipe Shot goes in, Mystical Fires are firing. Regieleki has finally got some attention. Dragonite is coming up. Let's see where we go. The Snipe Shot is going, and it looks like Legends Reappear are just going to start this objective as Ground Zero Gaming is making their way up. They've got two beautiful secures with the Inteleon and the Hyper Beam coming from the Dragonite, but Machamp not able to use its Unite. The Fairy Frolic coming out from Sylveon. Legends Reappear do get the objective. The Unite moves are flying. Eldegoss has used its Unite move as well, but now Legends Reappear have got to back off as Ground Zero Gaming have just decided to let this walk. Was that a good decision to just let that Regieleki walk? Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Ground Zero Gaming is doing a really good job here of occupying Legends Reappear's time. Now, they are gonna, the Blastoise is going to get a 40 on that top path. So, you know, it's just a tier 1, so it's not really a huge priority for Ground Zero Gaming to prioritize that top tier 1. Plus, it's also gonna open up their side of the map with some more experience. So, once they're done with this Registeel down here in the bot path, that's gonna be some experience that they're gonna want to go and grab for some levels here. But speaking of levels, things are still looking pretty balanced between both teams here. But we have a major fight happening here on this bottom objective.
Decidueye popping its Unite move, Blastoise popping that Hydro Typhoon, Ground Zero Gaming just pushing Legends Reappear away from the Registeel as they wanted to take a look at all of those yellow dots. Both teams are looking to get back and absolutely just get as many levels as you can go. Like you mentioned, the levels, Gyarados level 13, Decidueye level 12, Dragonite level 12, and 2 level 10s on either side as we are going into the apex of the game. 3.5 minutes in, Gyarados going to try and make away with that blue buff, but is this a very smart push coming from Ground Zero Gaming, pushing into the central area of Legends Reappear?
Well, they were able to get that KO on the Eldegoss, so I'd say it's going pretty well. It is definitely a risky play, but there's really not much for Ground Zero Gaming to do right here in this situation except to continue looking for those picks. And so that's what we saw them doing in that central area there, applying a bunch of pressure and just kind of taking charge there in the central area of Legends Reappear. So they're definitely looking for some extra picks for some more experience on their side. And oh my goodness, Lobo, we have a level 14 Gyarados.
A level 14 Gyarados is going to be an absolute nightmare heading into this Ray Pit, but as you can see, Ground Zero Gaming have taken that Regieleki and taken it off the map. Legends Reappear going to have to focus on that. They're probably just going to rip this down. Eldegoss getting some good positioning on in as Snorlax has found its target. The Ground Zero is decided to go onto the Sylveon, but no, it's just managing to push Legends Reappear out. Good positioning by both teams here as Legends Reappear try to find their way in. Rayquaza spawning in about 6 seconds. Let's see where the fight is gonna take us.
Yeah, incredible positioning coming from a Ground Zero Gaming here. The way that they're able to kind of shut out Legends Reappear from trying to gain any positioning advantage here for this raid fight. So we do see them, you know, slowly creeping their way in, finding that pathing in to try to initiate this team fight.
Absolutely, we got Sylveon circling around that top side. Decidueye just popping those Spirit Shackles coming in. And here we go, the engages come on. The Decidueye just, ult has come in. The Hydro Typhoon firing off on the Blastoise. Machamp catching the Snorlax out in a submission. But here we go, the Inteleon Unite move has been popped. Inteleon does go down. Machamp's fists are flying. Gyarados managing to take it down. And that is a 3 KO streak. 3 takedowns for the side of Ground Zero Gaming as it looks like Decidueye is just going to start ripping this raid. No, I stand corrected. Snorlax getting a 40 dunk in, leaving that top pad on 1 as we do have ourselves a re-engage. Great fight from Ground Zero Gaming. Let's see if Legends Reappear can bring this back in. They really have to take this Rayquaza because the point scores now sits at 305 to 119 as Legends Reappear pushing their way back in. Ground Zero Gaming very, very patient here, not wanting to take the Rayquaza, not wanting to start it with 50 seconds left to go. Here come the engages once again. The Spirit Shackles flying again from the Decidueye as the Heavy Slam hits on the submission. Machamp gets onto the Snorlax. Here we go. A few more Unite moves are popping. The Spirit Shackles managing to do that damage. The Heavy Slam taking down the Machamp. The Eldegoss taken down by the Decidueye. And that is 4 members down for Legends Reappears. Inteleon just has to back off. What an intelligent Ray fight, Curly. Great start for Ground Zero.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, going into that second engagement during the raid fight, I did notice that Ground Zero Gaming, they still had 3 Unite moves online. I want to say it was the Umbreon, the Snorlax, and the Sylveon. So you did mention Ground Zero Gaming having phenomenal patience during that second engagement, and that could not be further from the truth. Legends Reappear only had that Eldegoss Unite move to try to gain any sort of advantage or footing into that raid fight there, but unfortunately, Ground Zero Gaming, they just had way more resources to their advantage.
Absolutely. Game one going 5-19 to 1-1-9 to Ground Zero Gaming. Joe, 11 kills on that Gyarados. So strong, especially with that bounce, giving him a knock-up as well as a bit of a stun. But look at those bands here. Crustle, Trevenant, Leafeon once again. But look at that. Ground Zero Gaming in control. The objectives are split kind of even between both teams, Curly. What do you make of that?
Um, yeah, I'm not quite sure. I mean, oh my goodness, look at this damage here from that Gyarados and the Decidueye. I mean,
Mm,
Legends Reappeared, they had a pretty good early game, but it seemed like once Gyarados got online and, became the very strong water dragon that it is, I mean,
mm,
it just didn't seem like Legends Reappear was able to gain any footing. I mean, they were able to get a few picks here and there, but when it comes down to it, Ground Zero Gaming, they just maintain that lead at all times. And
mm-hmm.
the levels were pretty balanced for majority of the game. But again, you had that level 14 Gyarados going into the Ray fight, and that's very intimidating.
Absolutely, and obviously, let's have a quick chat about the bans. We know defenders are very strong right now. They're usually the ones that are targeted bans. We see Blastoise, Slowbro banned, but this time we had the Crustle and Trevenant ban coming out, as well as Mew and Leafeon. Now we know Crustle and Trevenant both very strong, especially with the disruption that they're able to build. But the Mew ban, possibly because that was a targeted ban to Mio, because Ground Zero Gaming have used that Dragonite Mew combination quite a lot of effectiveness in the past. I feel like taking that Mew away from them was a strategic plan for Legends Reappear. What do you make of the other bans though? Crustle, Trevenant, and Leafeon.
I will say over here in the NA region, we see Crustle and a Trevenant being played quite often. And if it's not played, it's more than likely banned. Sometimes you see them both on one team, and then sometimes you see one team grabbing Crustle, one team grabbing Trevenant. I think
Mm-hmm.
those two defenders right now are super disruptive. They are very much, those brick walls in the front line. Both of their kits have so much crowd control built into them. And so it makes
Mm-hmm.
it very difficult to try to get behind that brick wall and on to that back line and try to pick off those squishy Pokemon. So, yeah, honestly, I mean, I think those two bands are definitely good bands for sure.
Absolutely, and for it's not over for Legends Reappear. It's a best of three situation, so we are going to go into game two. We're going to let the teams reassess what they need to do. What do you think we're going to see as a change? What do you think Legends Reappear need to focus on? Is it possibly, are we going to see a Gyarados target ban? Was that too much of a problem for them to deal with? Personally, for me, I saw that Decidueye. Definitely not something we see a lot of in competitive play, but that Decidueye Spirit Shackle putting on big damage, especially just standing behind that Umbreon and of course the front wall that is the Gyarados. What do you think Legends Reappear need to do going into second game to kind of not get pushed back, but also keep that early advantage that they had in game one?
I think there's two things that they can do. They can try their absolute best to try to, if they do allow Ground Zero Gaming to have that Gyarados on their team again, they definitely need to apply way more pressure in that early game and try to set it back as much as they can. Now, Joe, I know them to be a phenomenal player, and obviously they did so well on that Gyarados last game. So, we could see a target ban on that Gyarados. I think that would be extremely viable. But also another thing too, you did mention that Decidueye getting tons of damage in that back line. They could put a Pokemon on their team to be able to dive in on that back line. I'm trying to think of like the Pokemon that would be good for a job like that. And the first Pokemon that kind of comes to mind for me is like Zoroark or maybe even a Dodrio even.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think in terms of, trying to get into that back line there?
Absolutely, you hit the nail on the head there. The Zoroark would be an absolute great pickup. Also, the Dodrio. I believe the Decidueye did go a little bit unchecked. Same with the Inteleon on both sides. We had both range attackers putting off big damage, but that Inteleon was just swamped by the Gyarados. So we kind of need I believe and I'm thinking that possibly we need to see some kind of speeds. I wouldn't even mind seeing a Mimikyu. We've seen a Mimikyu a few times throughout the con, especially with that Shadow Sneak player off combination, just being able to take out a certain Pokemon, get it to low health, and have a follow up from the other team. But these teams have got such a way of thinking, and they're so different. So I can't wait to see what these teams are going to bring up. But I'm also very curious. We usually see a lot of the level 4 evolutions. First of all, one was banned. We saw that. And then we saw the Sylveon and Umbreon being picked up as well. Double Eevee being run. Those Eevees getting online so strong. But we missed out on the Glaceon and Espeon. What do you imagine the reason would be for that? Because those two are quite strong picks right now in the meta.
Espeon did get a little bit of a nerf in the most recent patch, specifically with Stored Power, which is a sure hit move. So that could be something that's kind of keeping players away from picking up that Espeon. The sure hit move being nerfed is kind of a little I haven't played Espeon personally since the nerf, so I don't know if it was a big enough nerf for that to be the reason. But yeah, I definitely think Glaceon could be a really great mon to pick here. I mean, the burst damage on that thing is just absolutely insane, especially on those squishies. I think if Legends Reappear was to pick up that Glaceon, again, you would definitely still need something to try to get into that back line, but Glaceon would definitely be able to take care of those squishy mons for sure.
Absolutely. And the last thing we're seeing it more of a transition just as we're going along here. We're seeing that a top lane push a lot more often here in OCE. We saw it over in EUIC. Is that also something that is being done over in NA where the level 4 Leafeon or is taking that central area and then coming back up? But we're also seeing the ranged attacker from the bot lane come up and make that top 4 that four-person push top lane. What do you make of the transition between the bottom objective being made priority as well as the top lane now switching over to the top objective being made priority?
I'm definitely more in favor of prioritizing the bottom objective because it does give experience. But I think if you have that top tier 1 pad broken in those first few minutes of the game, then it definitely adds more value to the Regieleki up in the top pad. I think if you're capable of wiping that top lane, you gain so much control over the map and you force the other team to have to prioritize that top path as well, which kind of gives you more of an advantage down at that bottom path whenever those Regis spawn at the bottom as well. So it definitely depends on the team. It depends on the scenario. There's definitely value in both of them, and it honestly just depends on where you're at that 7-minute mark. Because yeah, if you can prioritize that top objective to make way for to get an Alecki to go down to that tier 2 and potentially open up that whole top path, then you're going to have a really phenomenal mid game.
Absolutely. And now that's enough of us talking as we get into game 2. Here we got Dragonite, Eevee, Snorlax, Blissey being picked up, and another Eevee as well. We've got Blastoise, Eevee, Slowbro, Eldegoss, and another Eevee alongside on the side of Legends Reappear this time round. Different look teams for both sides, Kelly.
Yeah, a little bit of some differences here. We are seeing that Slowbro from Legends Reappear, which honestly I really love. I think especially if you're going to have a Blastoise on your team, pairing it up with another defender is definitely ideal. Blastoise is more like a all-rounder brawler kind of defender. I mean, it is very tanky, but it's definitely more so used for the damage and creating space for your team. And so if you have a true tanky mon such as Slowbro, then it's gonna make that front line very difficult to get through. And so we are seeing Legends Reappear picking up that Espeon and also that Glaceon pick that we mentioned too. And so having those squishy mons on your team, you're definitely going to want to rely on a very strong tanky front line.
Absolutely, we've got action up here, 3v3. It is Dragonite, Sylveon, Blissey taking on the Espeon, Glaceon, and Eldegoss plus Blastoise has come up for another 4-man push, like you spoke about. We are seeing the Icy Wind build coming out from Glaceon as well. We did try and have a Snorlax evade, which was unaffected, but Glaceon now here in the bottom part, trying to get this Slowbro online. The big burst damage coming from that Icy Wind. Snorlax just has to back off here. Both teams pushing strong, but that Leafeon secure with that Leaf Blade is just too good in the early game. That Slowbro for Legends Reappear really does need to get online, and so does this Blissey here. We've got Eldegoss Wartortle inside the top lane. 8 minutes as we're going to work our way down into that central area where Leafeon, Blissey, and Dragonite have decided to go on. Blissey, there it is, does get online, but looks like Ground Zero Gaming is here first, and Leafeon is just going to scoop up all of that experience just for itself as Legends Reappear just a little bit too slow, but now it looks like the fight is on. Dragonite pushing the objective with being backed up by the Solar Blade. Slowbro almost going down here. The stored powers are coming off. The Icy Winds are firing back, and Leafeon is just firing from distance as both teams are now going to try and disengage and try to get a semblance of control here. We've got 30 seconds up until this basement Reggie spawns. Very aggressive once again from both teams, Curly.
Yeah, definitely. Both teams are kind of going a bit back and forth here. You see one team kind of applying a little bit of pressure, and then you start to see the other team returning that pressure. So we are having a little bit of engage and disengage action here. But we've only got a poor little Slowbro down here in the bot pad. Glaceon is trying to come down here to see if they can get some of these Ground Zero teammates to back off a little bit, but that's going to be a lot of work when you are 2v4 here. So looks like Ground Zero Gaming is going to break that bottom of tier 1, and so that's going to obviously give them significant priority over this bottom Registeel. This is a huge get for Ground Zero Gaming, but the rest of the teams, teammates for both teams here are going to slowly rotate up to this top path here, and so we want to see Legends Reappear get into positioning here, especially when they have that Blastoise on their side. They want to create that space for their team and try to shut out Ground Zero Gaming from gaining any positioning.
Absolutely, that first bottom pad being broken, the Surf going in, trying to ball out the Snorlax, who does get taken down by the Eldegoss. Now Ground Zero Gaming are just going to have back off. Dragonite is making his way after soloing that objective down bot lane, and now Legends Reappear have decided to just hit the Regileggy to see if Ground Zero Gaming are interested in this one. The Solar Blades are going, but Leafeon almost getting caught out, managing to get taken out as well. Both teams are playing very, very even here. As we go for the engage, the Blastoise Surf almost catching out the Dragonite. The Hyper Beams are going in. The Glacial Stage has been set as Snorlax is blocking everybody out. The Fairy Frolic takes them all out as they try to score, but the Espeon Unite coming through, stopping this the Dragonite and the Sylveon from scoring. Espeon taking down the Dragonite as Legends Reappear trying to defend this base at all costs. Slowbro has come back up. The 2 KO streak from the Leafeon. The block is just too strong right now as Ground Zero Gaming are trying to get their scores in. 40 points coming in from Leafeon. That's going to be an 8-person break. Great offensive push there by Ground Zero Gaming. The block from the Snorlax is putting in the work. The amount of damage that is coming off. Dragonite unfortunately being taken out, and now Ground Zero Gaming are just going to end up taking this top Regileggy. What a battle there for that top hard, Curly.
Yeah, that block buff is looking pretty good on that Snorlax, but also the presence of this Leafeon is extremely intimidating. We really are seeing why it is banned as often as it is. And here we go, something that we are familiar with seeing, especially with the last game. Ground Zero Gaming is playing in the central area of Legends Reappear here. So looks like we do have 2 Legends Reappear teammates prioritizing getting rid of that Alecki. So Ground Zero Gaming is trying to look for some extra experience that they can swoop up there. But Legends Reappear is also applying the pressure as well. They're turning on that tier 1, and we've got Leafeon in the fight here. Sylveon KOing the Espeon. This is absolute madness.
Absolutely, the Unite was used by Glaceon in that early stage, trying to take down the Dragonite, but the Fairy Frolic coming back in as well, taking down 2 members of Legends Reappear. We are at the halfway point of the game. 4 minutes left to go as Ground Zero Gaming is now making its way down towards the basement Reggie, which has spawned, but it looks like Legends Reappear just saying that they don't really care about this one because it is Regirock. They're just trying to get their levels online. But as we have a look at the levels here, both EVs, both evolutions on the side of Ground Zero Gaming getting their level 12 spike. Dragonite level 11. Snorlax and Blissey bringing up the rear with level 10. But on the side of Legends Reappear, we've got Espeon and Glaceon level 12 and 11, two level 10s. Levels are looking quite even across the board, even though that point score is telling a different tale, Curly.
Yeah, Ground Zero is looking pretty good, especially given that we are just a minute and 30 seconds away from our big array fight, and Ground Zero Gaming already has the score lead. Now, looks like Legends Reappears making a play down here in the bot path to try to close that score lead up just a little bit. So now it's going to be 246 to 115, and in pretty much every single objective that we've seen on the map here, we've seen this Dragonite just soloing it by themselves, completely uncontested objectives. So things are looking really good here for Ground Zero Gaming. They're not being contested very much, and they're able to take any fights that they want and still gain some benefit from it.
Absolutely. Now, Legends Reappear do have to take care of this Regieleki as Snorlax is just spawning here, but Blissey possibly trying to get in there for a blue buff steal. But now that bottom base has gone for Ground Zero Gaming, possibly could change the direction in which they decide to take their raid fight. But we know how patient both of these teams are, Curly, and I think that's going to come in big when it comes to that raid fight, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. And I cannot wait to see what happens here at the raid fight. We just see Ground Zero Gaming practicing that patience very well in the second engagement during the last game's raid fight. So we'll have to see if they're going to be bringing that same energy going into this next raid fight, which is spawning in less than 5 seconds. And both teams are here in positioning, so I don't think it's going to take very long for this team fight to kick off.
Absolutely, both teams just seeing each other out. Leafeon trying to come in and possibly get a Solar Blade off, as both teams are now fighting around the bot side where neither of them have a pad. Dragonite just popping up those Hyper Beams, the Freeze Dry popping up from the Glaceon, just trying to keep each one at bay. But look at how far that Sylveon is. That Slowbro doing a great job just zoning out that Leafeon from getting behind their team, and this Glaceon with the big burst damage from Icy Wind. Leafeon almost getting caught out there, but look at this. Snorlax has gone in, has to pop its Unite move. And here we go. The fight is on. The Hydro Typhoon coming in from the Blastoise, trying to zone out the Dragonite. Leafeon possibly caught out here. And there it goes in with the Emerald two-step, but gets caught in the Espeon Unite as Leafeon does go down. And here the Sylveon goes down as well. 2 members down for the side of Ground Zero. Legends Reappear are going to try and push this here. The Blastoise Surf and the Slowbro Surf catching out the Dragonite and the Blissey. The Heavy Slam coming in from the Snorlax as he blocks it away. Beautiful block again, once again coming through from the Snorlax as Dragonite and Snorlax on low health. They just have to back out here, and Legends Reappear are going to take this opportunity to try and rip this Rayquaza. The block coming in. Dragonite has used its Unite move, but it does have that Hyper Beam secure, but does it go down here? Dragonite does go down to the Icy Wind of the Leafeon. Snorlax going down to the Espeon, and Legends Reappear have a little bit of freedom to just rip the Ray, and it is taken by the Espeon. What a great battle coming from the side of Legends Reappear. 30 seconds to go. Those Hundo Burgers are coming on in. A lot of great patience shown by Legends Reappear in that Ray fight, Curly.
Oh, absolutely. They play that team fight so well. I gotta give it up for them, because that was just, again, just the patience between both of these teams is absolutely amazing. I mean, they just, I feel like we started to really see the Blastoise be a little bit more impactful going into that team fight. I feel like there were times when the Blastoise wasn't trying to create that space, as I mentioned before, is, key for being a Blastoise player. Just your presence alone and just being there in that front line, it kind of pushes back the other team a bit. And so I feel like we started to see that a little bit better going into that Ray fight. And of course, when there's just a Dragonite and the Snorlax being as low as they were on HP, I mean, that was the perfect opportunity for Legends Reappear to turn on that Ray and be able to secure it for themselves.
Absolutely.
I don't know
look at the
who
big
I
damage
saw.
coming out from the Glaceon.
Oh wow, that was absolutely huge damage. And the Espeon as well with the 80k. And then we've also got our healers popping off here too. Blissey with the 83,000 heals, really showing that, Umbreon heals a lot, but Blissey also gets the job done too.
Absolutely. And we look at the bans again. Once again, the Crustle Trevenant getting banned on the side of Legends reappear. But look at this. We've got the Mew getting banned once again. And the Gyarados. It seems like the Gyarados being banned by Ground Zero Gaming this time around. Maybe they just didn't want to go up against the Gyarados themselves, considering how well it did. Unbelievable game from both teams. But now that is one apiece. So even for the first game of today, we are getting a game 3 situation, and I'm so excited for it. We always love to see a game 3 situation, considering how well Ground Zero played in that first game. Legends reappeared, decided that they weren't going to be taken lightly, and decided to push back. Again, we saw a very good patient Ray fight coming from Ground Zero Gaming in the first one, and now we saw even more patient Ray fight coming from Legends reappear when they only went down to the Snorlax and the Dragonite. Legends reappeared, decided that they still needed their surfers, Slowbro and Blastoise. I think the double surf combination proving very strong for the side of Legends reappear. What did you make of that?
I mean, I think that's exactly what they needed to do, is just have that stronger front line. The double serve is a ton of crowd control, and especially when the Crustle and the Trevenant double defender gameplays have been very, very popular. And so I feel like this was kind of their way of still ensuring that their front line was going to have that good crowd control without having that Crustle and Trevenant at their advantage. So I think they made the best with the draft situation there. And so I think it played out for them extremely well.
Absolutely. I've just been corrected. The Mew Gyarados band were on the side of Legends reappear. So they obviously did not want to go up against that Gyarados once again. We saw how strong it was. But again, the objective for Ground Zero Gaming, just leaving the Dragonite to kind of secure most of the objectives, and the trust that you have to have in your teammates to go and take the team fights. What do you make of that? A lot of the communication and trust that we're seeing alongside these teams, is this something that can just be built over, it builds over time, or is it something you can develop quickly? What do you make of that? It's just the team synergy that we're seeing across both teams.
Definitely team synergy takes a while to build up, and you can definitely see that trust. I mean, that Dragonite was basically soloing objectives by themselves, so the communication must have been top tier. The trust is obviously there. That's why I say I was a little bit disappointed in the Blastoise plays, because usually at those objectives you would see that Blastoise frontlining and creating that space for their team. That way they can make a move into that team fight, win the team fight, take over the objective, rinse and repeat. But because the other team wasn't playing their Blastoise in that way, it kind of just allowed Dragonite to do whatever it wanted to do. And so we saw so many uncontested objectives going to the side of Ground Zero. So yeah, I mean, I think if your Legends reappear, you probably just want to try to get into positioning a little bit quicker. I mean, they were able to send it into a game 3, so that's huge. But they sacrificed a ton of objectives, and that is experience that could have been on their side. Now, maybe they recognize that they weren't going to be able to win those team fights. Again, you've got to have that communication and trust with your team, and just know that you're making the right decisions. And at the end of the game, it worked out well for Legends reappear. So now we're in a game 3 situation.
Yeah, game 3 situation. We love seeing game 3 situations. Now, this is not the end for, we have the last game left to go. Now, both teams are going to have to make those readjustments. We saw the Umbreon and the Inteleon being taken out of the squad for game 2. We saw the other 2 evolutions come on in with the Icy Wind Stored Power combination. We saw the Dragonite the Gyarados getting banned. Again, both teams have so many opportunities to come in, like you spoke about before, that they needed to get behind that front line and see the Leafeon. The Leafeon absolutely just taking control of those lanes early game as well with that Solar Blade combination. Do you think we're going to see more of the same going forward? Do you think we're going to see the Gyarados ban once again from the side of Legends reappear, or do you think because it feels like that was more of a target ban specifically for that Pokemon, but letting them have another Pokemon that they want? What do you think the teams are thinking about right now in terms of Ground Zero taking game 1 and Legends Reappear taking game 2.
I definitely think the Gyarados ban was super impactful. And so I think I would like to see that again. I'm assuming the Mew ban is also a target ban as well. I believe you mentioned before the Mew and the Dragonite working together. Those secures, I bet, would just go absolutely insane. Granted, Ground Zero is already securing objectives left and right, so maybe we'll see something different with that Mew ban. Maybe put in that Leafeon ban because, like we said, they needed to have a speedster to try to get into that back line, and Leafeon does that so well. So I think I think the Gyarados ban should definitely stick, but maybe also throw in that Leafeon ban as well. I think those would be two really good options.
Absolutely. And something you mentioned before we started the broadcast, especially that buff to the block on Snorlax, is proving to be unbelievable. Just being able to completely peel the enemy teams away from each other, trap them up against walls, and leading to those KOs. Do you think that the Snorlax is going to be picked up once again by either team, proving how effective it's been?
I think since we're seeing Crustle and Trevenant bans, and then of course one team picking up, the Blastoise, I think Snorlax would probably be your best bet. It definitely seems like a lot of the meta right now is having that super disruptive front line, and so I think with the Snorlax buffs, I'm not sure if they're pairing it with the X speed or not, because I do know that X speed and that barrier, it zooms, it goes so fast. So I definitely do think that combination alone is just super, super disruptive. So I don't think the Snorlax pick is bad at all when we're seeing a Crustle Trevenant ban. Now, if those two bans swap up, then I would love to see the Crustle or the Trevenant being picked up instead. But I believe it was Ground Zero that was rocking the Snorlax. I think it's working out pretty well for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The Snorlax experience so good, but we are ready for, or almost ready for, our decisive game 3 situation of our first game of this United Championship Series for the Oceanic region. We've got Legends Reappear, Ground Zero Gaming, 1-1 apiece. It's going to be very interesting to see who takes out that decisive game 3, and I'm very, very excited for it. We've seen the bans. We've seen how everyone has been playing so far. So I'm really, really excited to see. Here we go. And here we go. We've got the Scyther pick. Snorlax is coming into the play, but we've also got a Comfey on the side of Ground Zero Gaming. We've also got a Squirtle, Dragonite, Trevenant being picked up as well, with Eldegoss and another evolution. Only 3 evolutions this time for both teams. And we got an Espeon being picked up by Legends Reappear. And it looks like we've got the Sylveon on the side of Ground Zero Gaming. The bands completely different once again. Curly, we're seeing that Trevenant come into play this time around.
Yes, very excited for that. I definitely think Legends Reappear could for sure use some extra frontline crowd control there, and so that Trevenant, especially if it ends up going with the Hornleech build, which I think it definitely should, is going to be very, very disruptive. Also paired out with that Blastoise too, I'm hoping that it's going to be able to help Blastoise get into that front line and create that space that I've been mentioning, especially during those objectives. But oh my goodness, we already have a brawl out happening up here on this top path.
Absolutely, Sizzle with the Comfey is just going to get those resets on the Bullet Punch, but it went in too far, gets taken down by Dragonite. Ground Zero Gaming decided to push this game early, but Espeon coming up and helping to push them back. Legends Reappear are now going to focus on the Leafeon. The Leafeon just managed to grab the berry, but Blastoise, that skull bashing in, managing to make the Leafeon back off, and that top pad is already broken for the side of Legends Reappear. Curly, what an aggressive push and pull coming from both teams.
Yeah, this is kind of what we were talking about a little bit before the second game. I mean, if you can break that top pad before the Regieleki spawns, and that adds a significant more value to that first Reggie Alecki. You know, being able to send it to a tier 2 and potentially break that before the mid game is absolutely massive. It's going to force Ground Zero to pay attention to it unless they want to see that tier 2 go bye-bye. But here we are in the central area here, and we're having a huge team fight here.
Another brawl coming in. Snorlax going, taken down. Eldegoss going down. Leafeon going down to the Woodhammer from the Trevenant. Dragonite taking down the Scizor as well, as the poor lone Sylveon has just left to defend this pad. So aggressive. The two frontliners working so strongly for Legends reappear. And here we go once again. Trevenant getting its scores in. The stored power coming in from the Espeon to push away the Snorlax. But Blastoise just decides that he wants to get it back, and he surfs the Leafeon back towards the side. The eject button getting popped. The heavy slam going in, and Legends reappear just too strong with that Hyper Beam taking down the Snorlax. Wow. Aggressive, strong start from Legends reappear. Great positioning by Trevenant and the Blastoise. That two defender frontline is proving to be very strong, don't you think, Ellie?
Oh, absolutely. Also, Lobo, you know what I see on the table here? I thought for sure Joe was going to lock in that Scyther. I mean, I think that's usually the Pokemon that we see whenever we do see that Scyther locked in. But Joe is opting for the Scizor, so this is really exciting. I absolutely love to watch some Scizor gameplay. I think it's a very fun Pokemon, and, you know, hopefully it does well, especially with it having that Comfey around it. But unfortunately, it's just not enough. We are going to see the Scizor and the Comfey getting knocked out, and Legends reappear is going to apply so much pressure. There it is, the Alecki going into the tier 2. Leafeon is applying a ton of pressure here, though, preventing Legends reappear from making a move on that tier 2. They are going to get in some scores, though.
Yeah, the Emerald two-step managed to do big damage, taking out a lot of Legends reappear. But look at those two frontline defenders. The Scizor going down once again. Comfey is all by its lonesome as Snorlax deciding to block its way out. Leafeon with the Solar Blade just missing on the Blastoise. He's going to take the attention away from the Trevenant. Can both of these defenders get out? Trevenant popping that XP, trying to get out as well. Great push. Whilst we were seeing the fights go on, Legends reappear did take the Regieleki, and now Blastoise just trying to surf his way down, and both defenders are going to end up getting taken down from a combination of the Sylveon and the Leafeon. But again, the amount of distracting that those two defenders were providing for Legends reappear to just take their farm, and now both teams are making their way down to this bottom Regice that is spawning. Legends reappear are trying to put on the pressure here, but they've decided to just back away from this one and let Ground Zero take a Regice, and now they are just going to focus on the defense while Scizor is scoring up top. Ground Zero Gaming not coming off too strong on these team fights at the moment, but look at this. Legends reappear, going to push again. That base is left onto this Blastoise. Surf the Horn Leash. The block is coming out here. Can they get this in? The Dragonite is putting big pressure on the Sylveon. Has managed to get down the Hydro Typhoon. The base does get broken. Snorlax goes down, but here we go. The Leafeon getting caught out by the Surf. Once again, having to pop that eject button, trying to put away the Phantom Forest. Pops on the Leafeon. This Leafeon cannot get away from Legends reappear as they are just piping the pressure onto Ground Zero. What an amazing push that doesn't seem to be over yet, Curly.
No, it does not. We are just continuing to push and shove, going back and forth between these two teams. We do see Espeon getting taken down. Legends reappear, getting very low HP here, as we do see Blastoise getting knocked out as well. Sylveon on 2 KO streak. That's 4 down on the side of Legends reappear, just when things were looking so good for them. Ground Zero Gaming clapped back. They won that whole team engagement, was able to break that bottom tier 1 there. Now that's going to allow Legends reappear to get some experience there, as well as this top path as well. So lots of yellow dots all around the map. We're going to see both teams here just trying to soak up as much experience as they possibly can here. Now I would like to point out level 13 Sylveon on the side of Ground Zero Gaming. I'm sure they have a few more teammates that are creeping up there as well. We got a level 13 Dragonite on the side of Legends reappear. Looks like we do have numbers advantage here on the side of Legends reappear here in this top half.
Hydro Typhoon coming off from the Blastoise, the Espeon Unite firing as well. Scizor has decided to pop into Unite as well. Dragonite is just deciding to do the objective here where the rest of his teammates are going for the engagement. The Espeon stored power, managed to fire up. Eldegoss does go down. Legends Reappear do end up taking the objective, but at what cost? Dragonite has to unite to get out of dodge from being taken down from the Scizor. Incredible decision making there from Legends Reappear, deciding to go for the objective instead of backing the team up with that fight. I guess they wanted that pressure. They knew if the Regieleki was going to be pushed, it's going to provide a little bit of ease on that pressure to Ground Zero Gaming. But like you said, that catch-up experience from the previous engage, level 13 Sizzle, level 13 Sylveon, level 13 Leafeon, Legends Reappear have just opened the door for Ground Zero Gaming to come back into this with 40 seconds left until raid. What do you make of that? A little bit of a mistake on Legends Reappear's part?
Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty long engagement there at that midpoint. So I definitely think there was a point where Legends Reappear could have decided, okay, you know what, we might not win this team fight. Let's go ahead and back up while we're already in the lead. So that's something that you kind of have to be careful of, is, you know, not trying to give away that lead that you have. And unfortunately, you know, Ground Zero Gaming, they were able to clap back. They were able to get some picks, and that allowed them, you know, to get that catch-up experience that they so desperately needed. And now it's kind of an even playing field here. We're kind of seeing the same song and dance that we have seen in the past two games. I mean, both teams here are both equally likely to win this engagement here.
Absolutely, Rayquaza has spawned, the Comfy has popped its Unite, the Hydro Typhoon coming up from the Blastoise, the Fairy Frolic coming off as well from the Sylveon. Scizor is just trying to put as much pressure onto this team as possible as it does take down their Eldegoss, and now they are turning on their attention to the Dragonite, the Emerald 2-set, the Hyper Beam, finding its combination, but Dragonite having to ult out just to save itself there as Trevenant has decided to take on the fight with the Scizor, but Legends Reappear super low right now. They're just having to back away from this Rayquaza fight as one member of their team is down. Dragonite super low health. That Comfy Scizor combination so strong, but that he has to be aware of that Solar Blade. Scizor is just pushing the boundaries of whatever they can do to try and take down this Trevenant, and the Trevenant has to back off, but it does look like Legends Reappear do need to come back as the Rayquaza is now at half health, as Sylveon with the Hyper Voice is just doing a Blastoise trying to force his way into the mix there. Does take down the Leafeon, and there we go. There's the Snorlax Heavy Slam plus the ult. The Dragonite has to back off once again. Scizor doing such a great job just pushing their attackers out, not allowing Legends Reappear to get any damage. There's the KO streak of 3 from the Scizor, as he is now just taking on the Dragonite and the Trevenant with the block coming in from the Snorlax. Legends Reappear have just been pushed out of this raid by Dragonite, barely making it out on 1 HP as Trevenant gets taken down by the Comfy. Wow, what a raid fight from Ground Zero, Curly. Incredible.
Yeah, no kidding. This is the second time that we've seen Ground Zero Gaming just kind of not care for Ray. I mean, you don't need to care about Ray when you're winning with scores and you're winning the team fight as well, but there's still a little bit of time left to make something happen, but it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to make anything happen for this last game. So looks like the win is gonna go to the side of Ground Zero Gaming, taking the win on their first set of games.
Absolutely. 5 seconds left with 100 points between the two teams. And there it is, 252 to 393. The first team that is going to make their way through is going to be Ground Zero Gaming. 2-1 versus Legends Reappear. What an absolute amazing first game that we just had coming through. And there we go. Once again, the Gyarados was banned for the side of LDR. Legends Reappear, Gyarados and Mew getting banned, and Crustle and Slowbro on the side of Ground Zero. They didn't want to deal with that double defender comp, but they still had to deal with the Trevenant and the Blastoise as well. And Joe racking up 108k damage alongside Mio on the Leafeon with 90k damage. So really strong team fighting coming out from this time from Ground Zero Gaming. What do you make of those damage points and the bans, Curly?
Well, all I can say is you can ban the Gyarados, but you cannot ban the Joe. I cannot believe, I don't know if this is a common thing for OC region. Again, I mean, I'm from the NA region, so the meta might be slightly different, but Scizor? I mean, I wasn't expecting that. And I also wasn't expecting a 108k Scizor. So yeah, I mean, sometimes these players, even though you do throw a target ban at them, they've got some other tricks up their sleeves and other Pokemon that they can pop off with, and that is exactly what Joe did.
Absolutely. And now we are going to bring Fu back to get his thoughts on the first set of games that we have and give you a little bit of an update on the bracket. But what an absolute amazing first game. Fu, welcome back, my friend. You were clearly watching that game in epic anticipation. Give us your thoughts on that first set of games.
Yeah, thanks, Lobo. You can see I'm a little bit red from just being so flustered on how close that game was. I think what a better way to start the broadcast, right, for the April Cup Finals. A game 3 scenario. We have 3 amazing close games there. But I think just for the last game, it was just a masterclass of a team that showed us you don't need to, win or panic the start of the early game. If you're not doing as well, you just need to make sure you pick the right fights because you can come back into the game. And let me just say, Sizzle, I did not anticipate that. I thought Joe was for sure going to Scyther. I think you talked about that, Curly. But that Sizzle with the Comfy, it was like a raid boss in itself at the end. I don't think anyone on Legends Reappear could even take it down. Big shout outs to Nakasea on the Snorlax though. Every single time, the Trevenant came to try to stun the Sizzle and the Comfy, the Snorlax was there to heavy slam to make sure that the Trevenant doesn't get any more CC on it. And then, that block, you just run at the enemy. And then, the Sizzle obviously just takes the rest of the job done. So you don't even need Rayquaza. I think LDR did a fantastic job in terms of their drafting. D-Knight has been such a bread and butter of Ground Zero gaming. But taking that away, not allowing them to have it, it seems like Ground Zero have many more tricks up their sleeve. So that was very exciting, but, it is a double bracket. It's not over yet for either of these teams. So speaking of the bracket, maybe we can have a quick look, maybe like an update on the teams. In the winners side, Antic Esports have beat Dodo 2-1. So another, 3 games of action. Obviously, we talked about how Ground Zero Gaming have taken down LDR. In the losers bracket, we've got a Black Glasses progressing through to the losers quarters, and they're going to be joined with Fury, who's going to be taking on Dodo 2 in this losers quarterfinal. So plenty of action about to come. I mean, if the first, I guess, match is any indication of what we're going to see today, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're in for an absolute treat. This is the perfect time. Grab some water, go hydrate yourselves, grab some popcorn, make sure your snack pantry is full because we're going to be right back with plenty more action once the game between Antic Esports and Ground Zero Gaming will begin. So see you guys soon.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Unite Championship Series April Cup, the Oceanic edition. My name is Lobo. I'm here joined with It's Mifu and Curly Q. Unbelievable first set of games we got to see in the winners semifinals. We're moving on to the winners finals with Antic Esports versus Ground Zero Gaming. You two are going to be taking the casting for this one. I want to get your thoughts on what you're expecting to see and what information you gather from what we just saw. Let's start with Fu.
Oh, well, thanks, Lobo. I mean, this is a matchup of the titans of this region, right? Two very, very strong teams, both signed by orgs. We've got Antic Esports against Ground Zero Gaming. I mean, we got to spectate Ground Zero Gaming's masterclass last set, right? It was just incredible that they can show that it's not all about the Dragonite that won them the March Cup finals, right? They can play a variety of other Pokemons and dominate with them. So they're going to go up against Antic Esports, which are currently holding the number one rank in the region as a team. I mean, fireworks could fly. I don't know, Lobo. I'm very excited to be able to watch this game.
Oh, I'm expecting another Game 3 situation. Curly, your first foray into the Oceanic regions UCS Championship. I'd love to get your thoughts on what you saw and what you're expecting going forward.
Well, what I saw is Ground Zero absolutely popping off. I gotta say, Joe looking good on both the Gyarados and the Scizor, which was super unexpected. That's a strategy going into some of these draft modes is, throwing a Pokemon that people don't really expect. I mean, even just locking in the Scizor, I think most people expect to see a Scyther, especially when there's a Comfey too. And Joe said, I'm going to try something a little different here and throw y'all off. Now, what I do know is that Ground Zero did win the last cup and Antic went to EUIC. So as Fu mentioned, I mean, aside from grand finals, I think this is probably going to be the most hype and an incredible match of the tourney. Two of the top teams in the OC region. And I can't wait to see these two teams go at it.
Absolutely, you mentioned that. This is a rematch from last month's grand final where these two duked it out, and I can't wait to see what they have in store. But unfortunately for me, you guys are going to be covering the casting of this wonderful event. So I'm going to hand it over to you both as we slowly make our way to get ready for this wonderful match.
Cool. Thank you, Lobo. I mean, Kelly, it's great to be able to cast with you again. I mean, this is, like you said, just the clash of the titans right now. Evolutions, if I can bring up, have been the stars of the show from the last set we watched. We saw Leafeon, we saw Sylveon, Espeon. I mean, we talked about Umbreon at the start of the broadcast. Where is it? No team have banned it. No team have used it. What is going on?
I believe there was an Umbreon in the first game. I'm spacing who was running it. I want to say it was Ground Zero because I think they were also rocking the Snorlax with it as well. And the heals are definitely massive. I think the buff that Wish got is absolutely incredible. But I do remember there was a game where there was two evolutions on the side of Ground Zero and two evolutions on the side of Legends Reappear and no Umbreon. So we almost had all evolutions at play, which is something that we don't get to see quite often, especially because lately Leafeon tends to be banned quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't really think Umbreon is a necessity to have on a team. I think it does make for a good Pokemon, especially it's an evolution, so it gets that evolution very early on. And we talked so much about those the Wish buffs. So I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe see it a little bit more often. But I kind of think, when it comes down to tanks and healers, there are plenty of other Pokemon for these teams to utilize. And so, we could sometimes see the Umbreon, we could not. And I don't think that's really, I don't think not having the Umbreon is going to hurt any of these teams at all. But yeah, definitely seeing these two teams taking advantage of those evolutions.
I think we manifested it, didn't we, Curly? There's going to be an Umbreon on the side of Antic Esports in that bottom part there. Now, just looking at the team comps very quickly, Gyarados will make a show for Ground Zero Gaming yet again. The Magikarp is in that top path. Now, I'm looking like there is going to be an early gank from Ground Zero Gaming just to make sure this Magikarp comes online and jumps over the waterfall to become that Gyarados. Meanwhile, that Hooper, we've seen it, so oppressive early game, pushing with the Squirtle to secure as much farm as possible. It's really the tug of war, isn't it, Curly, to stop this Magikarp from coming online.
Oh, absolutely. And it looks like they're also trying to put a stop to this little Clefairy there. Honestly, not really a huge loss of getting knocked out. I mean, it kind of pulled the Glaceon away from that top tier 1 and you know, kept it from being able to engage with its team there and applying pressure. So if anything, it kind of just wasted a little bit of time, but again, that is going to be some early experience on the side of Antic Esports. So here we go for the first set of Swablu's up here in the top path, and it's going to be followed up with some KO Spoo.
Wow, Suluwu with a huge drill peck just to grab all those birds and get that enabled for that KO 2 for Antic Esports. So this is going to be a fantastic, aggressive start coming on from that Antic Esports here. And I think that's what I want to see, right, with your team Antic. You've got that Glaceon that comes online so early. You stop that Magikarp from, you know, getting that much farm in that top path. And now, you know, action will begin because we have a Gyarados, Curly, on the map already.
Yeah, that early pressure from Antic Esports is not going to stop Joe on that Gyarados. And so I wonder if Antic Esports is ready for this Gyarados, because in that one game that we did see it, it was very deserving of the target bans that followed after. And so we are kind of seeing Antic Esports trying to play a more aggressive game here in the early phase. And it's kind of working for them, but Ground Zero is also making a push back. They do get that KO on the Dodrio there. They're getting a little bit low on HP here as Glaceon continues to burst, but Gyarados is looking for a KO.
Wow, that Hooper manages to just get that Glaceon out of there. That's just a sign of the teamwork that Antic Esports are showing us right now. That's a great enable. Stops that Glaceon from getting sent back to the base. Meanwhile, on this bottom path, oh, Robbie's having a little bit of a problem. 1v3 at the bottom here, and looks like Ground Zero Gaming is going to be able to soak up all these bird farms there. I think Robbie's just going to play this a little bit safe because the rest of his team are up top. They want to break this tier 1 pad.
Yeah, and they are going to go ahead and take that off of the map. Meanwhile, Ground Zero is looking to make some pressure on his bottom tier. When they have vision, they know Antic Esports is prioritizing that Lucky, which I think is valuable for them given that that top tier 1 is gone. But that's going to give Ground Zero Gaming priority over this bottom objective here, which it looks like they might be going on the defense instead, knowing that Antic Esports is going to want to pressure that Lucky there. But looks like some different things are happening as they slowly start to make their way down for that bottom objective.
Yeah, I mean, that's something so good about getting that Regieleki, right? You don't have to actually use it to score any points, but it takes the attention away from Ground Zero Gaming. They have to divert it to take care of that top. Meanwhile, Antic Esports is going to be able to shred this Regice. Let's see if Ground Zero has anything to say about this. Hydro Typhoon comes out, but the Glaceon is going to good to convert that basement Reggie. And look at that, the spears are just raining down on that Sylveon. I think Ground Zero Gaming needs to find a place to maybe back up here. It is a spin Blastoise, Curly. I did not really expect it considering how much Surf Blastoise we've seen in the recent times.
Yeah, we definitely see a lot of Surf Blastoise, but also Spinstoise is also very incredible too. I think it's definitely more optimal if you're wanting to create that space for your team around team fights and objectives. And I gotta say, it's doing pretty good for Antic Esports. I mean, Ground Zero, they're pretty even as far as levels go for looking at Antic Esports levels as well. But yeah, both teams here, they're gonna be trying to look for either some easy picks here for experience or also some Pokemon on their side of the map. Ground Zero does have quite a lot of yellow dots on their side, as we do see Joe getting that lane farm there. But looks like we might be making a push onto this bottom tier 1 Umbreon, looking to make a score, but is shut down by the Trevenant and Clefairy.
Yeah, I think the way Antic Esports is looking to play this game is they're really prioritizing this Regieleki, perhaps looking to break that tier 2 pad. Gyarados is on top looking for, something to say about this situation. Meanwhile, all 4 members of Ground Zero are still lurking in mid. The Glaceon wastes no time just to rip this. Gyarados Dragon Current will be able to secure that, and this could spell trouble for Antic Esports. Big knockout on the Blastoise, and there's just not enough frontline now for Antic Esports to defend this pad, and I think they made a very, very smart decision just to let that go. Wasn't the biggest overdunk, I think, but look at this. What a turn of the script right now. From, getting that Regieleki low at the start, Curly, he has now converted to the top pad of their team being broken.
Yeah, and tons of yellow dots on the side of Antic Esports. So this could be the point in the game where they gain a tiny small lead here, especially if they're able to get the secure on this bottom Regirock. But Ground Zero is also getting into positioning for this objective as well. Now, we do have Snipe Shot and Inteleon lingering around, so we're looking for that secure from that Inteleon. So we'll just have to see if Antic Esports is able to deny that. But we have a full-on brawl happening as Umbreon does get the secure on the Regirock.
Yeah, Inteleon will need to pop its Unite now just to zone out the teammates here. Here comes the Umbreon Unite as well, and I think this Blastoise might be a little bit of trouble. Gets knocked out by the Inteleon, and Sulu, so good with the Drill Peck, has to run away from the Trevenant though, because the Wood Hammer is just going to lay down its damage for that team. And look at that. Somehow, Ground Zero, even though they've lost these objectives, they have just, I guess, gained in experience. We have a level 13 Gyarados on the side of their team now, Curly.
Yeah, no surprise right there. Game 1, when Ground Zero was facing Legends Reappear, we did see a level 14 Gyarados at around this time. So we could very well see some more Gyarados bans going into these next set of matches, because Joe is just an absolute monstrosity on this Gyarados here, really carrying the team here going into this late game.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's definitely a Pokemon to watch out for in the final stretch. Now, we do have Sulu and Challenge creeping up to that level 13 as well. Only 13 seconds going to the final stretch here. Let's see whether teams actually prioritize Regieleki or not. Spears are firing onto Regieleki. It seems like Ground Zero Gaming is just taking this opportunity to just, I guess, be in that central area for a bit on the side of Antic Esports. That gives them enough time to grab this and convert the Regieleki, and that's going to come flying down into that tier 2 pad. Looks like Joe doesn't really care about that at all, and he's just gonna zone the whole of Antic Esports out of that top positioning. I really like where Ground Zero is right now, Kelly. They have all this map positioning for this one.
Yeah, and I mean, look at their positioning already going into this array. I mean, they've got Gyarados there in that front line. They got Trevenant also in the bush there, just ready for the usage of that Wood Hammer to create some crowd control. But they do have Blastoise going in for a backhand. They do take down that tier 2, and suddenly the score isn't too, like, the differential, I cannot English here, sorry. The differential, oh my goodness, the scores are not that far apart here.
No, they're not, and looking at that, all the Unites are just going to pop out here. Rings About comes up just to make space for Antic Esports. Dojo just managed to get out that situation here. Inteleon does not manage to connect too much with their Unite move, and look at that, the snipes are going to be coming to Trevenant. Gets a good potential pick on the Blastoise. Hydro Typhoon manages to save him. The spin to win is going down. Gyarados will be able to pick up Blastoise there, Curly, and look at that. With a 4v5 scenario, Antic Esports know they're ahead here, so it's still the burden of Ground Zero to take this Rayquaza. Inteleon will go down to the Glaceon, and suddenly all of Ground Zero are just running back. They need to kite away from this. 3 players down on the side of Ground Zero Gaming.
Oh my goodness, that Gyarados 1 HP and a Dream, and also Trevenant also getting pushed out as well, having to recall to gain some more HP for themselves as well. So it was a huge win for Antic Esports in that team fight there, and of course they know that they have the lead here, so they really don't need to focus on that array. They just need to go on the defense. But what is this? We've got Trevenant going down to this bottom tier 2, but Dodrio is ready for it. Looks like Umbreon was able to make a score on that bottom of tier 1, and Trevenant is still trying absolutely hard to try to gain an advantage on that tier 2, but they are going to get shut down by Antic Esports.
I just want to say, Curly, what a smart thing to do to send that Blastoise to cap on that tier 2, knowing that they had Hooper to bring them back in. And even then, when the Trevenant, I thought the Trevenant had a massive engage on that Blastoise. And, you can see Ground Zero also jumping on that opportunity when the Blastoise was stunned there. But then the Blastoise is like, hey, I've got Hydro Typhoon in my pocket here. Managed to stun 3 members of Ground Zero there. I think Anon did fantastic as Blastoise there. And really, I think that was the turning point in that raid fight, wasn't it? Able to stun them all up in the air for the rest of the team just to engage. And I think Challenge, able to get that KO streak of 3, really secures them the first bit of that raid fight. And then, with the time ticking down, Curly, I think at the end of the day, there's just not enough scores coming down from Ground Zero at the end.
Yeah, I mean, both teams really played this game so well. I mean, they were going back and forth. It was absolutely intense, so intense that I forgot how to even speak English in this game. But going into this game too, Fu, what do you think are the changes that Ground Zero needs to make if they want to send this into a game 3?
Now, I that's a great question because I was gonna bring up the fact that Kingor on Ground Zero Gaming picked Clefable. Now, normally Clefable isn't, that high of a priority in terms of the support players or the support Pokemon that the teams like to bring out in this region. I just want to quickly talk about the bans because none of the support Pokemon were banned at all. It was a Mew ban and a Dragonite ban on the side of Antic Esports, and then a Crustal Leafeon. So very standard bans, I think, definitely coming out from Ground Zero Gaming. But the fact that Blissey was still online, I would like to know, why that wasn't picked, to support the Gyarados. Maybe they were thinking a Trevenant and a Gyarados together, clumped up, with a Clefable heals is a bit more beneficial there. However, we can see at the end of it, Blastoise really took advantage of that, right? If you know the enemy team is going to be clumped up together, that is a perfect way to, use your Unite move and, really enable your team to do some damage. I think going into the second game, the game wasn't really one-sided per se, was it? I feel like both teams it was kind of like a tug of war, right? Push and pull all throughout the game. There was a lot of emphasis on that Regieleki for Antic Esports. In the end, it paid off for them having a Hooper. So maybe Hooper could be the problem there. Curly, what do you think going into this game too?
I definitely think sometimes it can be a bit hard going up against a team with Hoopa on it. I feel like you have to just play that game a little bit more faster pace. Like you have to just be way more ahead of the other team because Hoopa's able to teleport their teammates to and from both lanes very quickly. So when you're in the other team without Hoopa, you have to make sure